Hi everyone, Michael Caswell here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the awesome Steve Lukather. Doing a quick licks on Steve Lukather is an interesting concept because there's pretty much nothing that Lukather doesn't play or can't play. So to specify certain licks that he might play it takes some thinking about. But there are key areas that we can actually look at, very kind of reminiscent things he does that is always, that's got to be Steve Lukather. So that's the aim of this DVD, is to kind of get a bit of an approach of Steve Lukather's kind of style, and if we can get just like 5% of that in your playing, it's going to make you sound a 50% better guitar player. So without further ado, let's jump in and get started. Okay, let's take a look at Steve's approach to guitar playing. The first thing I think we might want to look at is his vibrato. Now I'm gonna try and copy his vibrato, but he's got quite a slow, wide vibrato. So So, you know, vibrato is a very, very hard thing to teach and talk about, but because it's got to come from you. But we all know how he sounds, but he's got a real kind of when he vibs, he really does kind of dig in, and you know, he really kind of does. It's quite a wide vibrato. The strange thing is, what I've noticed about the vibrato is it's still very sweet sounding. It doesn't sound like a metal vibrato. It sounds like it just sounds like it's got a lot of soul to it. So there's a kind of a line where it starts turning into a kind of a bit of a heavy metal vibrato, or sounding kind of sweet and kind of still kind of funky and with lots of soul. So that's got to come from you. I'm going to try and imitate it. I probably wouldn't, when I'm in my normal playing, I wouldn't give such a wide vibrato because I'm more of the kind of blues kind of, I don't know, blues-based vibrato, a bit of a mid-range vibrato. But if you can get that kind of wide, sweet sound to it, it's going to help things along no end. The other thing to talk about is when he kind of picks, he really does kind of dig in. At the beginning, maybe at the beginning of a phrase, he'll kind of really dig the pick in. If I just play that little phrase, if I play it kind of normal, now dig it in, I'm really digging it in. So maybe sort of get some of that in your playing, because it has a real effect on the sound. The other thing to talk about is his approach to scales. Now, I'm assuming that you're going to know maybe your pentatonic scales. You can't go wrong with the pentatonic scale. But what we've got to do with it to kind of make it more kind of Lukather is passing notes. It's all about passing notes. So let me just take an E minor pentatonic right there. Position 4, E minor pentatonic. What I want you to think about, and this has also got to kind of come from you, you've got to kind of program your hands and program your brain into thinking this way, is thinking about all the notes in between these call them kind of goalposts or you know, points where the scale are. If I just play all the notes in between, there's the framework. If I play the notes in between, it gives a kind of a new concept to the scale. So try, really spend time before you look at this DVD. Maybe just spend an hour just taking the knowledge you know and then taking risks. Because a lot of students I teach, they know their scales. They get a scale, then they kind of think, well, where's my licks? What do I do with it? It's try taking the scales and playing in between. They're passing notes. Slide into a note. You can slide into a note. Here's the scale. 3 notes. But I could play the passing notes. And cool stuff kind of starts happening. So it's really about taking risks and really pushing yourself to kind of just play notes that don't belong. So there's going to be a lot of that in the licks and the ideas and the phrases we're going to do in this DVD. And if you check Steve's playing, he just plays and plays all the notes and gets to the next scale. It's very much he's a big fan of Larry Carlton. Larry Carlton is the master of playing outside and coming back to the key center. And he's also a big fan of Jimi Hendrix. So if you can kind of morph Larry Carlton with Jimi Hendrix, you get a bit more style towards Steve Lukather. I hope that makes sense. So really spend time just experimenting with the scales you know and just playing some passing notes. So I'll take it just position 1. There's the position 1 right at the top there. If I play in between those goalposts, I call them kind of goalposts, bullet points, you can get some interesting stuff. Okay, another thing we need to talk about is Steve's picking. He's a fantastic alternate picker, and he loves a bit of a fast, speedy pick, a fast run. So we're going to try and get a couple of those in this DVD, but don't stress too much about playing it as fast or playing it as accurately. It's whatever works for you. Maybe just little kind of bursts of speed can sound much better than a whole kind of rampage of speed. It sounds a lot more tasteful. But if you can just kind of build up a little bit of speed with this hand, it's probably more this hand, and obviously you've heard this before, but it comes from the wrist. If I just take one note. You just got to kind of keep it loose and relaxed and just kind of build up to the speed. And then whatever works for you in how you cross the scales is the way to go, because you can spend time copying me or copying Steve Lukather, but if you need to speed pick, whatever works, how you kind of cross the strings, whatever works for you is the way to go. So, I might just pull off, and if I'm going to cross strings, I might pull off or economy pick, but as long as it kind of sounds fast, sometimes I might even sweep pick, but... So that kind of speed picking comes a lot from keeping the wrist relaxed, and I've also found there's a big difference in the angle of the plectrum. If you actually expose more of the plectrum than you think you need to, and bring it back, sort of back a bit towards the middle of your nail, you can kind of get more of a cool angle on it. Steve Lukather is fantastic at alternate picking, and if you check his playing out, he'll normally, play some soulful melodic stuff, and then there'll be a fast, kind of furious alternate picked run from the top to the bottom. It's just a case of building up speed, and whatever works for you is the way to go. How you cross strings, not how Steve Lukather crosses a string or how I cross a string, it's how you play the scales at speed and make it sound kind of cool. We're going to try and touch on some of that in the DVD, but just whatever works for you is the way to go.